partial nephrectomy with the Renorphy. Dr. Rogers.
Thank you for the opportunity to present today. Let's go ahead and pull up the video and start it for the next slide. If you can just go ahead and click that, we'll start running it. So the tumor's out, now it's time to sew the kidney back together again. Many ways to do this: running, interrupted, barb, monocryl, vicryl, double layer, single layer, bolster, no bolster, early clamping, and not unclamping. These are all tools to have in your toolbox. The standard way, kind of the gold standard I've done it, is a deep inner layer running and an outer capsular layer interrupted using the sliding clip Renorphy technique. So, and I apologize for the artifact on the tremor on the videos today, but I think the teaching points can still come out. This is a monocryl suture in a running fashion along the base. It's outside in from the capsule into the defect. And I'll go corticomedullary junction to corticomedullary junction, incorporating collecting system and closing venous sinuses. You notice the left hand is pulling the suture up to maintain tension so it's easier to throw. You'll see a couple wet clips here. So, you know, in the last videos you saw some wet clips being applied. Although I don't routinely do this, if I have used a wet clip, I just exclude them. So do a mattress closure under those to exclude those clips so they're less likely to migrate. And then you want to plan out these sutures so they're the appropriate length to the size of the tumor, so you don't have too much redundancy in that suture length. And so you have just enough to get out and clip that and then go to your next suture. So this is suture number 2. You can use some saline injection to see what's left. This part of the defect I had not covered as well, so I'll focus on those areas of defect where I still see some oozing, where I still think there's some sewing to do. Generally I'll do 2 layers, 2 sutures for the inner layer. If necessary, I can do a 3rd. So again, coming out of the capsule, put the clip in the middle so it slides down. Now this is a vicryl suture on a CT1 needle. Going through the capsule, it's the capsule that is your strength layer here. You want to get good capsular bites, clip in the middle, slide it down, and you'll notice that the defect just closes down. So these sutures are all made ahead of time. We check them before we go on clamp to make sure we have the right number, the right amount, that the clips are on it. And then the clamp comes off. And then we'll cinch down, use Lapertite clips to prevent any backsliding. Even the back side of the monocryl suture, you can tighten it on the other side. So if you're going to use a monocryl suture, this is one of the advantages, that you can go on both sides and tighten it down. So then you can use a barb suture as well. So you're going to have more efficiency with the barb suture, that every pull, you don't have the same backsliding and you don't have to anchor your sutures. So this is a pretty big defect here, several entries into the collecting system and renal sinus. And again, for the clip, just mattressing under it, incorporating collecting system. Notice here I'm using just using 1 needle driver, but I think with a big defect, when the stakes are higher, just switch to 2 needle drivers. But for basic defects, you can use 1 needle driver if you want. 1 inner layer in, we'll go to a 2nd barb suture for an inner layer closure. So even though it's a barb suture, I'm still holding the suture with my left hand, because when you pull it up, it pulls things in the it pulls tissue into view, so it's easier to put the suture through it. This is going through collecting system. You could do this in a figure of 8, interrupted fashion. It just takes more time, but you could certainly tie these individually. I feel like if I've anchored that suture, that I can go one at a time and close all these defects. So then you always want to exit where it's easiest for your assistant to place the clip. So you always put your hardest suture first, which is the suture away from you. Now we're doing the outer capsular layer. Notice the defect completely closes, and we'll go through the capsule again, clip in the middle, slide it down, the defect completely closes. And just to show a difference, this is a vicryl instead of a barb suture. So for this one, after we come off clamp, we will secure that with a Lapertite clip so it doesn't slide back. But the barb sutures, you don't need to secure. It has a ratchet mechanism. And then kind of gilding the lily here, once you're off clamp, if you have a little oozing and you want to put more sutures in, you can. And then the description from Dr. Kauk and colleagues about a running suture, a running horizontal mattress. So the advantage here for the outer layer is that there's only one suture in the body at a time rather than a whole bunch of sutures that have been placed interrupted. And you'll notice to make it more efficient for clips, rather than the assistant having to come in each time, there's an automated clip applier where you can put one clip down and then put a second clip on. So you slide it down, put the next clip, so that allows you to carry that as a horizontal mattress on the other side. Go through, and then you do the same thing when you exit. Put one clip down, slide it, put the second clip on so you can turn the corner. And this automated clip applier right now is a 5. We're usually used to using the large clips, but I found that for a barbed suture, this is adequate to get the tension that I need and also avoids like a whole array of clips that are in the way. So this is the technique I use now with the running horizontal mattress. I used to be concerned that with this technique, what if one tore through? If one suture tore through, would it destabilize my entire suture line? But if you're anchoring them as you go, then you still have security on the subsequent sutures. So then once this is down, we'll go ahead and do early unclamping here. So I've done about half the rhinorrhaphy, came off clamp, and now we have all the time we want to finish the rhinorrhaphy. Same idea, 2 clips coming through. Now you have to have a longer suture if you're going to do the entire defect. So usually this is around, this barbed suture comes at 12 inches. I'll cut it down to about 10 inches. For most of my interrupted sutures, they're around 5 inches for the outer and about 7 inches for the inner layer. So I don't have too much redundancy and run out of suture length. And then we're coming to the end. Notice the 4th arm in the background. What that is doing is just keeping the defect in your face. When you sew, you want to see the back, and so you don't want to be sewing in a compromised position where you don't see. So that means investment on the front end to mobilize the kidney so you're seeing the entire defect. And if you have to prop the kidney, use the 4th arm, whatever you need to do. So then you can just break these sutures. It avoids another scissors coming in and out. And that's the 3 techniques that I've used for rhinorrhaphy.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr.